What's up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Venture guy. We got a great live stream tonight on happy hour, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're talking Pota. We're going to do a little bit of CW Pota, hopefully, and got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm really excited. Did an activation this evening, a little short one before the stream, so I'm pumped up and ready to go. Real quick, I wanted to thank our latest Patreons, James Jenner and Dwayne. We really appreciate you supporting the channel, and hopefully we'll get a few more picked up this week. But let's get this thing started. We're gonna bring out our friend Bill and get to talking some Pota. How we doing, bud?
Doing good, James. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Any day I activate, I'm doing wonderful. And I know you're about the same. I know when I was down in Florida, it seemed like every time I would leave a park, I'd look at, like an hour later and you would be there. And I'm like, man, I need to catch this guy. First, before we start about talking about Pota, tell us a little bit about what got you started in ham radio.
Well, when I was my father was a ham radio operator when I was a boy. And he had this old Navy Morse code reel-to-reel machine. It was like a white tape with just punch-outs on it. And one day I went down in the basement, turned it on. I heard dits and das coming out of it, and I was just amazed by it. So I wound up learning Morse code through that reel-to-reel Morse code machine. And I went into the Air Force as a Morse systems operator and actually copied Morse code as a living during my time in the military. And when I got out, I know Morse code. What am I going to do with Morse code? So I decided to become a ham radio operator. I studied, got my license. That's back when they had the novice where it was required to do 5 words a minute. And life kind of got busy a little bit. I let the license lapse. And last year when the pandemic started, I got relicensed. And K4NYM, Ringo, who's also involved in Pota in the local club here, I heard him on the 2-meter net from the local club. He mentioned Parks on the Air. I started looking at Parks on the Air, and the next thing you know, I was hooked. So that's my journey.
That's definitely Parks on the Air. It's kind of like the ham radio drug, if you ask me. I was telling you, before the stream, how I kind of got my start in it, and that's all it took was me just listening to the to one activation. I was listening. I was a technician listening on my dad's radio, and then I went straight to YouTube, started looking it up, and I was like, I got to take my general. I got to do this. So real good stuff. All right, so you did CW as a job. Tell us what that was like.
Well, my job was to sit at a teletype machine. They call it a rack. And you had 2 R390A receivers that were made by Collins. The ones that I used were, and you copied Morse code signals from target stations that weren't necessarily friendly to our country. I'll leave it at that. And you copied the data, and it was taken by other people, and they looked at it and did whatever they did with it. But it was a lot of fun, and it got pretty exciting. I spent my last couple years airborne, working on RC-135 recon aircraft. So I was able to take the Morse code in the sky a little bit, which you could see a copy of the aircraft on my QRZ page. But, I did my time in the Air Force and got out, but it was a great time. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I would have loved to, did that as a job. I tried to be it. Excuse me. Get in the military when I was younger, and I had a broken ankle and in 3 places, and they wouldn't take me. But that would have been an interesting job, that's for sure. So you get into ham radio and you get into Parks on the Air, and evidently you become obsessed with it because I don't know how many of the viewers out there are big into CW, and I want to learn it myself, but I know I get aggravated because I see this guy on all the time, and I'm like, I got to learn CW just to get him. He is constantly on there activating, And he does like me. He likes to do a lot of roves and stuff like that. So how is it that you're able to do so many roves and stuff like that? Are you retired? Does your job permit it, or?
I hope no one from my job is listening. No, just teasing. No, I'm an outside salesperson by trade, so I have a very my schedule really is my own. I can work as many hours or as few hours as I want. So that gives me the opportunity to activate. And I do quite a bit of travel in the state of Florida, so I can find myself up towards the Panhandle, or I can find myself down near Fort Lauderdale, which gives me the opportunity to get to a lot of different parks. And I think what's helpful in Florida is one of those states that has a lot of parks. There are some states where there's not as many, but Florida, you don't have to travel very far to hit a park.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Well, most of my viewers do know that I went down to Florida and I was down there for 28 days in April and did a lot of parks, but I mean, they were literally everywhere. I know when I was in St. Augustine, there was like 4 or 5 that I drove to within minutes, So, I mean, there's definitely a lot in Florida. So, I want to stay on the CW thing because I'm really interested in it. Tell us some of the advantages of doing Pota using CW.
Well, CW, as you know, has a more narrow bandwidth than sideband. And of course, FTA to digital modes have even a more narrow bandwidth, and they're great for low power. But CW will get through oftentimes when sideband cannot get through. And especially when you're working DX, a lot of the European stations really get into CW. So you'll get a lot of DX with CW, even on Pota, because Pota is really expanding internationally. Jason and the team have done a great job with that. So we get a lot of stations from Spain and Portugal and Italy and England and continental Europe. So that's a lot of fun. But CW could fit into in between frequencies. You don't see too many sideband stations like on 20 meters. You don't see too many people on 14.04 1.5 unless there's a contest going on. But in CW, you can do that. You can fit in between frequencies, which gives you a lot more opportunity to make contacts.
Roger that. And I'll be honest, being in Florida gives you a little bit of advantage with DX too, because I know when I was down there was one activation that I did, and I got 3 DX contacts, and I'm not talking about Canada because I get Canada all the time. But I got Puerto Rico, I got the Netherlands, and I got somewhere else DX, and I was like, man, this is just amazing. So
well, it's a lot of fun.
Also, you hear a lot of people, complaining a lot about doing QRP and stuff like that. CW is a lot easier to get out on QRP than it is single sideband.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
What I'm trying, Thomas is a K4 Sierra Whiskey Lima, I believe his call sign is, if I have his call sign right. Thomas, he's got a YouTube channel, and he's also got a blog. He does a lot of QRP work. I think he calls himself the QRP guy. You'll see him with his Lab 599 or his IC 705 or his KX2. He's always running 5-watt CW with end-fed wires and all different types of antennas, and he never fails to make an activation. Does a great job. So QRP is definitely doable with CW. Of course, it all comes down to the antenna.
That's definitely true. The antenna makes the activations. I actually like doing QRP sometimes. My radio was down for almost 2 months. I had to send it to Yazoo, and one of the viewers actually sent me a G90, and I used that thing, and I have yet to fail an activation. So I did a lot of QRP with it. Actually, did a crazy hike and did my first soda with it as well. So QRP is a little bit of fun for sure.
Yeah.
But
there's no soda in Florida. I don't think you could find a summit in Florida. I think the highest point, if I understand this correctly, the highest point in Florida that's not a structure is a landfill in St. Lucie County. So That's it.
Landfill.
We could have landfills on the air.
You got islands on the air down there though, right?
Yeah, beaches on the air as well.
Because I know I did 1, 2. I think I did 3 islands when I was down there. That were actually parks on the air too. But
cool.
I had a lot of fun on them, and it was great because you have salt water everywhere, and you're just getting out so good.
Yeah.
So
saltwater.
We were talking about the roves earlier. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the plaque weekend. You didn't even know how well you did, and then I'll just let you know you actually finished second in the plaque weekend for the number of parks you activated. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the plaque weekend I wasn't expecting to activate as many parks. I had some things going on that weekend, but they canceled on me. So that allowed me to spend some more time. And I tried to make a route. So I put a little bit of a plan to it. I wanted to go to an area where there was a concentration of parks so I can go bang, 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 just move through the parks, 10 and out. Make sure I get my 10 and then move to the next park. So the only way I was able to activate as many parks, I think I did 43 parks, somewhere around there. And the only way I was able to do that was activate, get my antenna off the trunk, and move on to the next park, get back on the air once again. So that was real quick.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're really trying to push your numbers, like you learn a lot of secrets. I know I've got several secrets that I will use, like to have my antenna ready to deploy faster and take down quicker and stuff like that you wouldn't, just normally store your antenna in. And you do a lot of setups. Covain has a question for you. He said, would you recommend learning CW via things like LICW, LCWO, or would it be easier to learn just on your own?
Well, that's as far as learning on your own, you can certainly do that through DVDs or online, but I would strongly recommend the Long Island CW Club. I understand there's also the CW Academy. I'm not as familiar with the CW Academy, but I've heard great things about it. So if you don't mind a structured environment, and if you learn better in a structured environment, you may want to consider the Long Island CW Club or CW Academy, because they have programs that are going to take you step by step, and that would be great. Now, if you're a self-learner and you don't mind listening to tapes and are listening to CW online and going that route, you certainly can. But I think the structured environment can work for a lot of people because you get feedback, and I think you're able to get tested and mark your progress.
Yeah, I know. I've looked a lot into the Long Island CW Club, and I think that's the way that I think I'm going to try to do it. It looks like a really good laid out program. I mean, I'm a doer, and I have to be hands on, and it seems like they're very hands on in their programs and stuff like that. It's like when I took my test for for my technician in general, I didn't learn nothing by studying for my test. I learned everything by going out and just actually doing it. So I'm a hands-on type guy.
Yeah.
Another thing, go ahead.
Good. No, people learn differently. There's no one way for a person to learn. I see there was a question there. How long does it take for the average person to learn CW? Again, that's kind of subjective. If you're going to take like a couple hours a day to really work on it and learn it, the ability to learn about 10 words a minute to get you through a QSO, you may be able to do that in 1 or 2 months. If you're busy, got a lot going on, it may take you a little bit longer. So it's a hard question to answer, but it all depends how dedicated you are to it and how much time you can invest to study.
Right. And with something like if you do a lot of Pota, you're gonna hear a lot of the same stuff over and over and
Absolutely.
over and over again. And it's gonna become second nature to you a lot easier as far as activating Pota. Now getting into a rag chew, that's going to be a different situation for sure. But the Pota stuff, you'll just start to pick up on it. I mean, I know as being a phone operator, there are certain call signs that I've worked so many times, and they can be way down in that pile up, and I can pick them up like it's nothing. And over all these powerhouse stations just booming in, I'll hear their call sign way down in there and call them right out, because I've just, I've worked some of these guys, 50, getting close to 100 times now, and you just pick up on certain things. That's another question I got. Go ahead.
I'll give you a little secret into my CW activating. I'm actually listening for the more obscure stations, the ones that maybe their signal is down in the mud a little bit. So I'll have a 599 station coming in, and I'll go, you know what? I can work him because he's going to be 599 in about 5 minutes anyway. So I'll try to get the weaker station so I can get the QSO in. And I also I'm partial to the operators that are operating about 7, 8, 9 words a minute. And you can tell a new CW operator because they're a little bit hesitant. They don't want to make a mistake. And I've been there. I know what that feels like. It's a little intimidating. So I want to be able to work those stations and let them get a CW QSO under their belt. It does a lot for people's confidence. So one of the things I would say is if you're learning, however you choose to learn, Long Island CW Club, CW Academy, or self-taught, as soon as you feel that you can get through a CW QSO, get in there and do it. Don't wait. Don't worry about making mistakes, because most of the CW activators in Pota are kind, and they'll work with you. They won't let the other stations crowd you in. They'll get through that QSO as long as they can hear you. They'll get through that QSO with you. So it's not as intimidating as it should be, as it may seem to be.
Right, and I was going to ask you because like I said, I get them certain call signs that I can pick right out. Is there certain ones that you've just heard so many times that, I mean, as soon as they start, you know right who it is?
Yeah, well, Whiskey Delta Zero Alpha Charlie Bravo, Bruce. I hear his call sign, just the way he sends code. Now this is getting a little geeky here, but I can actually tell a person the way they send their code. They have a personality. When you send CW, the way your fist works, you actually have a little bit of personality towards you. So when I hear Bruce send when I hear WD, I just know it's him. I could sit back, grab a cup of coffee, take a drink while he's sending his call sign. I know it's Bruce. And so he's one of the more prolific ones. Another one is November 3, X-Ray Lima Sierra, Joe out of Pennsylvania. We're talking reps here. We're talking stations here that I've worked hundreds of times, and you just know them. You were talking earlier on phone, like someone's really down deep. You can hardly hear them, but you know them by their call sign. If he's really a 229 signal because of propagation, I can just hear his call. I know it's him. So it's nice. It's familiar. It's like meeting old friends, if you want to, in a way of putting it.
It's funny that you mentioned Joseph X-Ray Lima Sierra, because he's one of those call signs that I can pick out. He was way down in my noise tonight because there were some really big stations coming at me, and he was way down in there. Now when he was by himself, he was fine, but I just heard him and pulled him right out of there. But again, I've got an operator to operator with Joseph, so I mean we've worked each other, and.
You got some questions down there. Is it possible to maybe get some of the questions?
That's what I was going to do. I know John wanted to know from both of us what was our best Pota. I'll let you go first.
My best Pota was my first Pota. I operated at Kilo 6327, which is Tenorock Wildlife Management Area, and I was nervous. I didn't have my CW paddle yet. I ordered one. I didn't have it, so I had to operate by phone. And I wasn't as comfortable, believe it or not, I wasn't as comfortable with the microphone. So that first key where I went CQ, 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 CQ Pota, this is K4NYM, I was nervous as all get out. And my first QSO was with K7SEN, Kilo 7 Sierra Echo November, Neil out of Arizona, who I've worked him hundreds of times. But that was the most memorable Pota activation I ever had because I got through it.
That's great because here I am from West Virginia and he's from Florida, and I have activated Tenor Rock 3 times, so I know right where he's talking about. My best Pota was probably my best and scariest to me. I had been activating for a while, and I decided it was time for me to step up to the late shifts. And my first late shift was Jekyll Island in Georgia, and I called CQ, and they came back. And when they came back, it was just 30 call signs at a time for nothing but an hour and 40 some minutes. I got 156 contacts in an hour and 40 some minutes. And I mean, my throat was dry, but it was just the most amazing activation. And I got to watch the sun setting over the water. And have you ever been to Jekyll Island, Bill?
Yeah, I actually activated that park. My daughter got a corgi puppy. The breeder was not too far from Jekyll Island, so when we went to pick up the puppy, I decided I have to activate Jekyll Island. So I activated from the parking lot.
Okay, which parking lot? The boat dock park?
No, the beach parking lot. The beach parking lot.
Okay. The beach
parking
See, I did where the boats were, and there was a sailboat that just come really close, and I got one of the best pictures ever of that thing. It was really great.
That's cool.
But that was definitely my best. All right, let's get some more questions. And while I'm getting some more, do you prefer paddle or straight key?
I use a single lever paddle by N3ZN, November 3 Zulu November. You can find them on the web. N3ZN is American made, if that's important to some people. Some people it is. And I'm just used to a single lever paddle. I don't use the iambic paddle. I use the single lever. I do have a straight key in case there's a problem with my paddle. Then I'll break the straight key out. But I like the single lever paddle.
All right. And this kind of goes right along with that. Would you recommend that for a first key or paddle?
If you're going to go to the paddle, you're either going to go to an iambic paddle or you're going to go to a single lever. If there's maybe your club, if you are a member of a local club and you can find some hams that would allow you to experiment with some different keys, I would really recommend that, because if you're going to buy your key online and get it shipped to you, you may not know whether you'd be better off with a iambic paddle or whether you would be better for a single lever paddle or even a bug like I'm trying to remember the company that makes the bug, Vibraplex, a bug. You may not know unless you get a chance to try it. So I would strongly recommend, if there's a local club near you and you can talk to some local hams, get an opportunity to get your hand or your fist on some different keys and see which one feels more comfortable for you. It may save you some money in having to buy something and then wind up selling it on QRZ if you don't like it.
Right. That's the truth. I never even thought about that because I feel like I will do better with a paddle than I would a straight key. I've got a ton of straight keys here that was my dad's, but I feel like that's something that I should do. I should get with some of the guys in the club and just try a couple of them out and see what I feel. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, I haven't had too many hams that aren't willing to help out. So if you just ask, I'm pretty sure they'll let you try.
Yeah, my club that is really good about helping out and stuff like that. And I mean, I'll be honest, from the very first day I walked in there to take my test because I wanted to do it to honor my dad. They have treated me like absolute royalty because of who I was. And, they welcomed me into the club, and now I'm like a crucial part in the club. So I really appreciate them guys.
That's fantastic.
Now, I think I got most of the questions from the chat, and if I have missed any, guys, repost them, and I'll get them. Question for myself, and it's something we sort of touched about. What about people who have like hearing disabilities? Do you have any suggestions for them? Like I'm deaf in my right ear from brain cancer. And is there anything you could suggest? And you may not even have an answer for that, but.
Well, I would always be cautious in saying someone who has a disability. I would never want to give anything that would be contrary to medical advice. So I would want to be very careful in that. But if you have good hearing in one ear, I don't see why you couldn't learn Morse code. Now, it may provide some challenges that someone who's got good hearing in both ears doesn't have, but you probably can still learn it. You may want to be careful with the volume you listen to, because one of the hazards that came out of doing my job in the Air Force is quite a few of the Morse intercept operators developed tinnitus, ringing in the ears, because they would have the volume really up to pull in some weak stations. And if you're doing that for 8 hours a shift every single day, you got dits and dahs through your headset. That can work on you. I see someone
Right.
mention a Braille reader. If there is such a thing, that would be great. You can also use, I think, like some rigs like the Zygu G90. I don't know if the IC705 has it. They actually have a Morse code reader that you can actually read the Morse code as it's coming in. Well, I don't use that because I don't need to. That could be a help to someone who's got hearing impairment. That may be a benefit to them.
Well, that was something I thought about doing as I was starting to learn, because I feel like I'll pick up the sending quickly because I knew Morse code when I was a kid. And it's not like a bicycle. If you don't use it, you can't jump right back on it. I promise you that. But I do think I picked up the sending pretty quick, but I do worry about the hearing. And I do have the G90, and it does have that. And then there's a FL Digi that you can hook up on your laptop. It'll read it as well. So
if I can mention one other thing, James, too, that'll help.
Okay.
If we don't, because this will actually maybe segue into or complement what you're asking. The typical Parks on the Air or Pota CW QSO is rather short. So you don't have to worry about copying a lot of free text. If I can tell you how I start a CW, when I start at a new activation and I just got on the air, I go, and I'm sending this, of course, on Morse code. I go CQ, 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 Pota. This is K4NYM, K4NYM, K. A station comes back and throws their call sign. So let's start with Bruce, WD0ADC. He throws his call sign. I throw his call sign. This is K4NYM, GM, good morning, if it's morning. UR for UR. And I 559, 559, break, BK, back to him. He comes back and says, he may say good morning, and he says UR. He sends me my RST, my signal report, 559, 559, and then it's 73. Have a great day. Bye. That's it. They're very fast QSOs. They're like DX QSOs when you're working DXpeditions. They're quick, to the point. It's not like, hey, how you doing? How's your, happy birthday? You're not doing QTHs, the weather. You're not doing any of that for the most part. You're just moving rather quick, and that keeps it short. And keeping it short may make it easier for a ham who's got a little bit of maybe a disability, that they don't have to be in a very long QSO. I hope that helps.
Right. And I mean, I feel like I could do fine. I could hook up my headphones, and I can hear really good in these headphones. Or I can just, when I'm in the field, I won't use my headphones very much unless I'm trying to pick somebody out, because I don't want that high noise in my head, like you were saying. But I'll turn my left side to the radio sometimes to really listen for a weak signal, and I can pick it out, because if it's coming to the side, you can forget it. Although I was just thinking about something. I say I'm 100% deaf, but actually this ear can pick up extremely high pitched noises. You think CW would be high pitched?
It can be. You get a heterodyne in there. You can get very high pitched. It can happen. Yes, it can happen.
Because I mean, I can hear like high pitched sound that normal people can't hear. That's the weird thing. You can sit here and talk on my right side, and I'm going to ignore you because I don't even hear a word you're saying. But you put something that maybe a dog would hear over here, dog whistle or something, I'm like, what?
So if I'm with you and you turn your bad ear towards me, that's your way of saying I don't want to talk to you.
Listen, it's the world's worst thing because if I'm driving and I'm going down the road with you, you can forget having a conversation with me because you're on my bad side. So a lot of times I'll drive more cocked where I'm seeing like this, but I can catch a little bit of the noise if somebody's talking to me. Let's see what else we got in here. Trying to make sure everybody gets their questions.
And while you're doing that, looking at the questions, one of the great parts about doing CW and actually doing Pota in general is I live in an HOA, so I really can't have an antenna. It's hard for me to have an antenna. And to be on the business side of a pileup when you've got dozens of stations calling you at the same time, you don't get that when you're operating a compromised antenna out of an HOA. So that's one of the other benefits of Pota.
Absolutely, which I don't live in an HOA, and I was blessed when my dad passed. I got the house here, and I got his old ham radio equipment and stuff. And at the time, I didn't, I took the radio down, and I wasn't going to use it or nothing like that. But I always left that antenna up there. He's got it's a random wire dipole antenna, and I mean it's long. And so when I got my technician and I decided I was going to listen to some HF, all I did was grab his old radio, hook it up, and pretty much put in the antenna. And one of the guys in the club, I had took Dad's tuner up there, and he showed me how to use it, a manual tuner. He showed me how to use it and what to look for. And I tuned up, and I was just listening, and bam, Parks on the Air. I hear that, and the rest is history.
Fantastic.
So, do you have any personal goals for yourself for Pota, or is it just you want to just get out there and activate because you love it, or?
Well, this year the goal was I just wanted to really pour myself out and do as many activations as possible. Not to compete against anybody else, but just personally, I have personal goals. I wanted to activate 1,000 parks. I'm almost at 1,000 right now. I wanted to have over 300 unique parks. I probably will have the 300 unique parks by the end of the year, Lord willing. And that's really what my goal was for this year. But more than that, I want to use Pota to kind of encourage new hams to get into this part of the hobby, because the ham radio, if you listen to the naysayers, they say our hobby's dying. I don't believe the hobby's really dying, but I believe Parks on the Air can be it's exciting because a lot of people are into health these days. They're out there hiking, biking and stuff like that. Well, you could combine all that in Pota. You could be out on trails. I love watching the YouTube videos of people going out on trails, kayaking, and doing some adventures. So there's a lot you can do at Parks on the Air that is more than just ham radio. You can combine a lot of different things in your life. So I want to be part of that. I want to be kind of an ambassador for Pota a little bit as well, and to kind of be an ambassador for the hobby. That's kind of the overarching thing that I would really like to do. So, but as far as, the operation itself, there's not a park I don't like. So if I pass a park and it hasn't been activated, I'm probably going to pull in there.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I can't say there's not a park I don't like. There was one here that had never been activated, and once I went there, I figured out why. I take the GPS, for hook directions, and it takes me to some guy's driveway, and I'm driving around everywhere, and I find a guy who works for the local phone company, and I asked him, I said, "Have you ever heard of this wildlife management area?" He said, "Yeah, but there's nothing there." I was like, "Can you just tell me how to get to it?" He said, "What are you doing?" And I told him, and he's like, "Well, I still don't understand why you want to go there, but I'm going to have to drive you." And he drove me way out these crazy roads, and then he got me to this dirt road, and he said, "You drive down this road about 3 miles. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be rough. You're going to drive." And I went down through there, and the creek turned into the road and everything, and I didn't like the park. This is a wildlife management. It was just a mountain. You know what I'm saying? I basically found a little tiny, once I started seeing the signs on the trees and stuff, I found me a little pull off beside the road and activated. but I would never go back to that one for sure.
Oh, I could understand why, but I meant by that is that if there's a park available and I can activate the park, I'm going to take an opportunity to activate the park. It's a lot of fun. In the end, I'm involved in parks on the air because it's a lot of fun. I operate CW because I find it very rewarding. I also it's a lot of fun, and I hope that people that get into the hobby have the same, they get that same thrill. It's something that they really enjoy doing.
Right. And, I liked your answer, as more of a personal thing for your goals. And that's how mine was. My first activation was March the 21st of this year. And I said that I'm going to activate every park in West Virginia by the end of this year. And I'm on track to do that. I've got 31 more parks in West Virginia to activate. Now, you, however, would have a harder time doing that than me because I happen to know that in Florida, there's some of those parks that you got to take a kayak or something like that too. Have you did any of those like that?
No, I haven't. But Justin, K4NYM, has invited me to go with him on a boat to go to a couple of the island parks. And yeah, there's a lot of island parks in Florida that you're only getting there by boat. So if you don't have a boat, there's no way you're going to be able to activate all the parks in Florida. Plus, Florida's just got a ton of parks. I mean, and I think Justin was almost there, and then they added all the new parks. So they added a couple hundred new parks, and now so he went from being like 90% activated to being down here again. The poor guy it's like they dug a hole up for the poor guy and threw him in.
Right. Now, that would be my luck. That's what would happen to me on December. I'm going to finish before December, but I'll get down to the last 3 or 4 parks, and they'll just do a dump or something, and I'll be like, no. So have you had any that you haven't done none of the boat ones? Have you had any that was really a trick to getting to activate or anything like that in Florida?
Oh yeah, I've had, especially the wildlife management areas. Some of these WMAs, you really have to fight to find out where they're located. And Lisa K4NYM reached out to me today by email talking about a park called Perry Oldenburg, which is near Brooksville, Florida. And there's a parking area. It's a very nice wildlife management area, great place to activate, but you can't find it. There's no directions anywhere. You could search online, you can't find directions. So when I finally did find it after 3 days trying to find the park, I now know how to get there. So when Lisa reached out to say, how do I get to this park? I was able to take a screenshot of a map and show her how to get there. So she doesn't have to spend 3 days trying to find it. There's a lot of challenging parks that they just don't provide directions to get to.
I agree.
But I
100%.
don't think that's unique to Florida, though. I don't think that's unique to Florida.
No, it's not. But that's just like there is a wildlife management area that's right across from Colt Creek State Park.
Little Gator Creek. Kilo 6316.
It is only open from November to something or another is what I found out when I was down there, because I kept trying to go to it to activate it, and I'm like, the gate's always shut. Why is the gate always shut? And
well, you can't activate
I looked it up
part. They do open up the gate at different times beyond the hunting season, and you can try to activate it from the gate. But the problem when you activate it from the gate is the power lines are right over your head. So when those power lines are right over your head, the RFI is unbelievable. So you run into some of those situations. There's even some these are challenges. I know we're getting off topic from CW, but some of these wildlife management areas, you can get into the parking area, but again, you got power lines over your head, so you may not be able to put up your antenna on your car because you don't want to hit the power lines. And then you got a ton of RFI. So there's always a lot of challenges. You always got to find a different way to do it.
Yeah, there was another one. I can't remember which one it was. And I got there and the gates were closed. And there was even signs saying they opened at 9 o'clock or something. But there happened to be a little fence over here. And I don't know if there used to be like a little swinging gate, but there was nothing there. So it was open. So like, okay. So I just packed my table and stuff and set everything just right inside that gate. and
Yeah, you can.
activate it.
A lot of the WMAs, if you come down to Florida again, a lot of the WMAs, they're closed to vehicles, but they have a hiking entrance or a biking entrance. You can actually get through and use it. So yeah, you can get in, so you can activate the park that way.
Okay, and I'll tell you what I'd like for you that I'd tell my viewers about, because you've been to it and I did not get to go to it. I know I wanted to. There's one down there that is in the middle of a bridge. You normally do it on the late shift, really late at night is when you do it.
You talking
You know
Skyway Fishing
about?
Pier? The Skyway
That
Fishing
one.
Pier?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
Kilo 1916. It's open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Excuse me. You have to pay a fee to get in there. There's a little like toll booth. If you remember, maybe some of your viewers will know about this. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, the original Sunshine Skyway Bridge that gapped St. Petersburg and went over the southern part of Tampa Bay, was hit by a container ship in the early 1980s. And when it got hit by a container ship, it knocked part of the bridge, fell into Tampa Bay, and unfortunately a number of cars drove off the bridge, and it was a terrible tragedy. So what they did is they scrapped that bridge. They never rebuilt it. They tore down the expansion part of the bridge, but they kept the approach sides on both the northern and southern side as fishing piers. Then they built a new Sunrise Skyway Bridge over Tampa Bay. So that park, Kilo 1916, has a northern and southern part of it. You can come in both sides, and you can go out about 1.5 miles, I think it is, out in the Tampa Bay, and you can actually park there and activate and fish in between your activation.
Yeah, I remembered you were doing that one night, and I wanted to get down there, and I forget something happened, and I couldn't get back in time to get down there. But that one sounded really interesting to me, and
it's a fun park.
Definitely. All right, we got any more questions in the chat? And you have any more suggestions for people who just might be starting into CW? I mean,
yeah,
I think we covered them all.
I'll just recap. If you, I would strongly recommend structured programs like the Long Island CW Club or CW Academy. There may be others. I'm only familiar with those two names. I would strongly recommend that you join one of those organizations, dedicate some time to study CW, and once you get proficient at it, you don't have to know 20 words a minute. Once you get about 7, 8 words a minute, maybe 9, 10, jump into a Pota QSO. Don't be afraid. You have to get your feet wet sooner or later. So once you feel like you're ready to do it, just jump in and do it. And if you make mistakes, you make mistakes. So what? You learn from them, and you'll live. And you'll live to QSO another day. So I made plenty of mistakes when I first started sending CW. It didn't come, there was a lot of fear, but I got over it. Yes, they are online. I think Gary asked the question, are these academies online? Yes, they are, Gary. Do a search for the Long Island CW Club and also CW Academy. You'll turn them up on Google.
I know the Long Island one will come right up. It's real easy to find, Gary. And you can also check out YouTube. Just type in Long Island CW Club, and you can find some YouTube videos and stuff. They do some presentations and stuff like that. So it's really good. And I had another question that I was just getting ready to ask you, and he asked that, and I totally lost my train of thought there. You're welcome, Gary. That's about it.
I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about Parks on the Air, James, as well as CW, Morse code, two of my passions.
Right. Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming on. I tried to get up with you a couple of times in Florida because I really like, the way you get out there and activate all the parks and stuff. And I was like, I want to meet this guy. And hopefully we'll get a meet up in Hamcation next year, and maybe even do a park together or something. Who knows? I know what I was going to say. Yeah, if even if you, like you said, if you learn 5 or 10 words, if you are doing the Pota activation, these hunters will slow down and make sure you get their call. That they'll help you out in every way, because I've had hunters, that's been way down in the noise, and they may have to give me their call sign 20 times, but they will sit there and they'll keep going until you make sure and have them, because they want their points just like you want that activation. They want their park. So
yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Remember, parks on the air only works when you have an activator and a hunter, have a QSO. The activator gets credit for activating the park, and the hunter gets credit for hunting that park and getting that QSO. So yeah, they have a reason to slow down and work you. And let me say, you're always going to run into some knuckleheads that are going to step all over you, that are going to not be patient with you, that you're sending 5 words a minute and they're sending 20 words a minute. It will happen. You got to just brush those off and move forward, because the majority of the hunters with parks on the air will slow down. Never be afraid to send QRS, which means please slow down. If the hunter's going too fast for you, just send QRS or PSE, please QRS. And they will. They'll slow down and you'll get through the QSO and everything will be fine.
Rob Miller's thanking you for all the CW contacts and putting up with him.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I know that call sign, November 3, Oscar Juliet Lima.
And I thought of another question. Have you ever had any people that I know you can tell the difference when somebody is computer generating code and sending it themselves, but have you ever had any that was just like way too fast because the people have their computer turned up too fast or anything like that?
I hesitate to answer this question because it's going to sound like I'm bragging, and I don't mean it that way. I haven't had anybody send CW faster than I can copy. So
nice. And
but
just
then again, remember though, when you copy Morse code 8 hours a day as part of your job, when I was in the service, you're doing it professionally, so to speak, and so yeah, that's why it comes easy.
Just out of curiosity, what can you send and copy?
Comfortably, I can send faster than I can copy. I mean, I can send probably 40 words a minute, but
wow.
with a little bit of errors. But I can get up there. But I can copy probably right now 30, 32 words a minute, somewhere around there. I probably can do, but no one sends that fast. Now, if you listen to some of those DX stations when they're doing contests, they're just blowing through. They're using your computer to copy code, because some of them you can't even separate the dits and the das. It almost sounds like RTTY.
Mike says he can never hear you on single sideband because you guys are too close. I don't know how close you're saying too close.
Mike, where are you located? Where's Mike located?
Where are you located at, Mike? I think Mike's in Jacksonville. I think that's what he's going to say, but we'll see. And I know I've worked people on ground wave and then be a couple of blocks away from me.
You're in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Mike, I've worked a couple Jacksonville stations on 40 meters. And so I've had that happen. Interstate, I worked the Panhandle a lot out towards Panama City. There's a station out there. I think he's N4SAX, November 4 Sierra Alpha X-ray. I've worked him a few times, but usually on 40 meters.
I know I worked, I was at my mom's house, which is in Lakeland, and somebody was activating over on the Van Fleet Trail, and I got them on ground wave. Mm-hmm. And when I was at Anastasia Island, I had a guy come through, and I mean, I thought the guy was screaming in my ear standing beside me. And he said, "Where are you at?" And I told him the park number again. He said, "No, where at?" And I said, "I'm at Anastasia Island." He said, "Oh, okay. I'm over here on 5th Street, a couple blocks away." So, yeah, you can definitely get the ground wave. But, yeah, Jacksonville, that's probably one of those things, especially working 20 meter, that he's hopping right over top of you.
Well, maybe I'll activate on my HT when I'm in Jacksonville next time. I was there. I was actually in Jacksonville yesterday for see a client.
Gary says he's worked me before. How you doing, Joseph Collins? All right, that's about it. I don't want to keep him no later because he does work and he gets up early because he wants to get out and do the parks on the air while he's at work, and I don't blame him. If I ever move to Florida, I'm gonna hit him up for a job myself. That way, I can keep doing parks on the air while I'm working. It's really convenient when you have a hobby that you can. I know when I used to geocache, and I used to work for a car dealership, and they would send me all over the country picking up cars for special orders, and they never cared. They knew what I did. I would go along and I'd pick up geocaches along everywhere, and it's great that when you have a job that you can do something like that, and they're supportive of it. So that's really cool. But if there's no more questions, we're going to say make sure and hit the like button before you go. And I appreciate every one of you guys. And if you do have any more questions, Bill has always responded to me when I've messaged him. I can tell you he's a straight up guy. I've messaged him several times about different things, and he's always responded to me. So I'm sure he wouldn't mind responding to you guys. But
Absolutely.
until next time, thanks for sharing my adventure with me, guys.
7-3.